Okay, let's call to order. The April 19th North Bend Planning and Parks Commission meeting at 6:30 p.m. And first we'll start with introductions and then we'll do roll call. So let's start down here. We'll just go on, right?
I'm Brian Duncan, Parks Commission. Chris Thompson, Parks Commission.
Tim Talovich, Parks Commission.
And it's the Planning Commission.
Carol Chinalada, Planning Commission.
Jonas, I'm the youth member of the Planning Commission. Parks Commission.
I was like, oh, that
Did you see?
No, I'm not very. I'm the Planning Commission.
Susan Torgerson, Planning Commission Chair, and
Ron, Parks Commission.
then we have two planning commissioners on the screen.
Juliano Pereira, Planning Commission.
And Brian Allward Fitzgibbon, Planning Commission, and sorry, loud baby, so I'll go back on mute.
We have definitely a quorum for the planning commission. And for the Parks Commission as well, okay. So do you think we need to do a roll call since we just did all that?
That for the introduction is roll call.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's move along to the public non-agenda items. At this point, we'd like to consider comments from the general public regarding non-agenda items. As a reminder, there will be no dialogue between the commissioners and the public. The commissioners are listening and considering comments. So is there anyone who would like to speak? Okay. we
What
have-
about online? Anyone online who would like to speak?
Oh, all right, so we opened it and closed it at 6:32.
For the webmaster.
No, it's not, that was not the public comment. I'm opening and closing just in case it's supposed to. Keep it clean. Okay, so the next item is commissioners will now review, the planning commissioners are gonna do the minutes for the March 1st planning commission meeting. Have you guys had a chance to take a look at it? And if you have, is there any comments or anything you'd like to change on it? If there are no comments, then we can go ahead and have someone make a motion to approve the meetings for March 1st. For the planning commission,
To approve the minutes from March 1st.
any second?
I wasn't here, but I can. I know, he asked me earlier, so I was responsible, but yeah.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All planning commissioners say aye if you approve it.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right, let's go on to the Parks Commission. I believe you guys have a February 15th meeting minutes. Did you want to go ahead? Do you have a vice chair that would like to carry it on?
She's absent.
Okay, so chair and vice chair are absent. All right. anyone-
No, I think Eric's vice chair.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, all right.
I need to stick it.
Any comments on February 15th?
Yes. As the Parks Commission had a chance to review that. Yes.
Yes, we have.
Do you guys have any comments or any changes?
I saw nothing.
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Great.
Well, someone has to make a motion
That's
first.
what it is. Well, I make a motion to approve the minutes. We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's been moved and seconded and approved, right? So let's go on to today's topic. Today, we're going to take a look at the updated parks element of the 2024 comprehensive plan amendments. And did you want to go ahead and discuss that? All right. I'd like to take that on.
So thank you guys all for coming together again. Particularly get our commissions together sometimes for these kind of events. So you did a lot of your review at your previous meeting, and that was with a public hearing as well. We received comment from the public, and as well as written comment. We received pretty significant large letter from the Snoqualmie tribe right before the meeting. And we didn't have time to consider amendments at that point based on comment. So what we've done is we've gone back and we have made some edits to the document based on public comment and based on some comments from the Plan Commission at the last meeting. So that is all shown in yellow highlight in the track changes version of the document that's in your packet. We were updated the level of service standard figure to be consistent with the 2024 or 2044 population estimate that we have earlier in the document. You guys know the discrepancy there, so we corrected that. I added a new policy 4.5 based on some comment that Commissioner Fitzgibbon provided about wanting to see public safety considered in the design and operation of parks. We've provided some amendments to the language of various sections based on comment from the Snoqualmie tribe. And that included just considering more consultation with the tribe, more joint planning for park and recreation resources, acknowledging some of the cultural importance that they have with some of the properties in the North Bend area. And also just considering additional site constraints and wildlife habitat needs when we're planning parks. So that's kind of the focus of what their comments were. So we actually met with them after we prepared some draft amendments based on that. Went back after that meeting and did a few more final refinements. And they sent an email that they were happy with the comments and looking forward to continuing with the coordination with the next elements of our comprehensive plan. So glad that we have them alongside us on this, and just some other very minor amendments in the parks element maps. We have made a few corrections that were reflecting ownership of Sideview property and city property that have been acquired since the time of the last update. And that's about it. So turn it back to you guys. We can run through page by page if you want, or just identify selected comments that you want to address, or you have to go where you want to go.
Mike, I do have a question. Let's just go and do it. I don't know if we want to go page by page. You guys feel like we want to do that?
I don't need to.
Okay. Some questions? Yeah. Okay, just go by questions. On page 11 or 22, in reference to the tribe's input, at Snoqualmie Falls, under the description there, I was surprised that there wasn't more or any language that they wanted added in terms of the cultural significance of the falls. And so I thought I would just bring that up to see if that's something that should be.
So what's 20, what's 11?
Package 22?
It's page 11, chapter, well, it's my page 11 and overall page 22. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, in the red line version.
Well, it's I'm in the fresh version.
Yeah,
here.
in the version.
Yeah.
There's a fresh version.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Small page 22.
Little page.
I was
page
thinking
11.
maybe this was the area where we could generalize at the top for areas outside the city.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to find.
I think that's a fair comment though to add. I could just say something very brief. It's highly significant.
That's up there, I couldn't find it.
Red light signings.
Highly significant.
Cyrus-
Really to the
Cyrus
tribe.
Sports Complex.
Can you also mention which is the page on the red line version?
It's draft 2024 update, April 5th, and then it's page 11 on the chapter 8 parks and open element, and then, but it's actually page 22 of the whole packet.
And it's in C, right?
Yes.
It's in section C.
Oh, there's supposed to be space.
And it's right below Sirius complex, or sports complex, so it looks like it's part of that, but it's not, there's no space.
And it's under C10, other regional areas and facilities.
See.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't really have any comments on any to add language to that whole section under
Yeah.
other regional areas of facility.
I feel like it's kind of, I mean, yes, everything could go either way, because I mean, this is a plan focused on our city limits here. I mean, we could go on and on, but I think about some of these outside of the city areas, the opportunities and benefits they provide, but if they didn't provide any direct comment for it, I would say let's just keep that as is.
Especially if you guys had a subsequent meeting where they went over the draft. And then, okay.
Okay, yeah, we can just leave that as is then.
I am also surprised that there wasn't any wanted input.
Also, Mike, I will give you, let me know how we can get together. There's some just very, very minor edits, like there's still a John Wayne Trail reference in here and the Hancock Timberlands, things like that. I can give you a copy or converse with you on.
Yeah,
So,
if they're just
yeah.
minor corrections,
Yeah.
grammatical things. That I'm happy just to take those. And
Okay.
edits.
Yeah. The copy editor we came out, so just to make it like 10 or if it's 2 Fs and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah, very minor also in the chart, Sirius says, it, in this one it says I, but in the chart it hasn't instead of an I.
Okay.
So, obviously minor. Minor things, I also noticed on page 19, overall page 19, under the Snoqualmie Valley Trail and Connection. The very last sentence has an extra word. It says, and too much of King County's 300-mile regional coast. And then 26, page 26, I just wanted to double check that we want 34 basketball courts by 2024.
That'd be great. So some of these things are just problems with when you take
Yeah.
the red line version and accept changes, sometimes you don't see those and.
I
so
can't-
I
can't
truly
imagine
appreciate you guys noticing
I'm
these
gonna
things.
do all this.
It says red line version, but it's all blue, so I think you should grab
I really appreciate it. This chart right here is 34 basketball courts. I assume that was.
That's actually.
Well, that's correct.
No, no, it's not correct.
And it's 1 for every 2,500 and then 15,000.
It's probably 4, it was probably 4 across out 3 and somehow.
I really appreciate the red line stuff. I think it's so helpful for the, when we're going back. So nice. Thank you for doing that. So you don't have to go back and work to your own copy. Right, exactly. All in one spot. Totally.
And then I guess I have a question just on the overall, the 20-year capital facilities program, where we have the kind of H2 section, the project descriptions.
Mhm.
And that kind of falls under the 20-year, but then it swaps over to the 6-year
Yeah.
capital facilities program. So I guess I know that's probably a pretty big effort at this point in time, but is there a way to show which ones are on the 6-year versus what are on the 20-year, because they're all kind of mixed in here alphabetically?
So, I guess I don't understand.
Because I'm trying to, I go back to this table here and it's identifies 6-year capital improvement plan, so I assume it's only projects that are gonna be completed or strive to be completed within 6 years, but then I come back here and it's 20-year plan, and then that's every project in there.
Mhm.
So I don't know if there was a way to take the 6-year ones and put them into the actual 6-year section.
The descriptions to read out.
Yeah.
We don't usually put them in the section because it changes, so you don't have to adopt the whole thing, just the chart over
Okay.
again, so that's why you don't usually spell out when it's the smaller 6-year.
The 6-year is adopted by reference in our capital facilities element, and
Okay,
it is supposed to be more limited.
okay,
So 6 years is the typical timeframe for everything within the capital facilities. One of our requirements in GMA is to plan out that time period.
okay.
So that's where that more limited table is.
And then I guess question on the 6-year table here, we've got the cost estimates, I realize they're very conceptual, but I mean, is that total project cost for coming from all the funding sources there? And is there any kind of breakdown or I'm sure you guys know, but I'm like for $1.7 million for a multi-use trail along the road there, how much of that is actually coming from park impact fees?
No breakdown intention.
No breakdown, when does the,
Because they always change.
okay,
You know, a grant comes along or council decides to prioritize something.
okay.
Is that a typo or is that like snowplow?
No,
Like-
that is, Wishitzki.
Okay.
Baklava is the Wishitzki name for the grand, big Snoqualmie Prairie.
Okay.
And good job on getting the way that it's supposed to be with a little W in this district. It's very important. Mike, is Campbell Global, that's the current reference, is that correct?
Yeah, it used to be Hancock.
Yeah, okay, good.
And then just kind of a question for myself, so I see on the red line version, we're eliminating City Hall Park from, I assume was completed within the 6-year facilities program. But as I was reading the description of what that is, I mean, there is a lot of the program elements identified in this project here are not necessarily included in the City Hall. So I'm just wondering, for $1.5 million price tag for a park, I'm just curious how much of the park impact fees went towards.
I honestly don't think any of it did.
Okay.
I think that was an idea to do something out here between the city hall and the fire station with
Okay.
the stormwater pond. But cost wise and just trying to get it done, we didn't do the grand design.
Okay,
And
so are we eliminating this because that is no longer? planned
yeah,
to
it's
be in the
probably not
program
feasible
elements
at this
there?
point with the redesign of the way the stormwater turned out. There's just not enough space to do it.
Okay,
People still walk on.
yeah.
Did we address over by Martell's all that in here? You know how the people came here, they
Yeah, so that's just a very brief description. And we left it as it was just because it doesn't get into detail about what that park is supposed to be and talks about retaining the forest character of the site. So we felt like that was probably fine for the purpose of, for the purpose of the comp plan. And then the more details for the planning process is what's happening with our consultant site workshop, through the public process, and that'll wind up with a specific plan.
Just remind me a little bit, I think it was people from Riverfront, correct?
Correct, riverfront.
And they were concerned about what, safety at that area? If in case the city in the future build like a trail or something like this?
Yeah, so we did add a policy to consider public safety in the design of parking trail facilities. So just trying to think about how we provide visibility and access. And there's a principle called crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED. So thinking about those principles as we design parks.
Okay.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate the addition of all the safety measures outlined in the red line document. I think for Riverfront, it was also just for you, Giuliano, there was also concern of certain residents having like the rights to the parts of the levee, like that's considered their property. And so it's just like, how do you improve public access when their backyard expands all the way to the river? So there's a greater conversation that needs to be thought of once the master plan or the planning of this park, comes together down the road. But that was the only additional thing that they were very concerned about.
Okay. Did we address this on this new red line version, or do you think it's not necessary for this?
No, I did not provide amendments there because the description for Riverfront Park is rather vague.
Mhm.
And we'll deal with the details through the planning process specific to that park.
Okay. Thank you.
Question, I didn't see anything that like specifically addressed like prevention or how to deal with the human and wildlife conflict, like coming together, like people petting elk and whatnot, like I don't have any great idea. I was just-
So we do have a lot of amendments that we made based on similar comments that the Snoqualmie Tribe provided to us. And again, those are in the yellow highlight, so. We added more language about considering the individual site circumstances of each site in planning for trails. And some language about trails and other recreation facilities not being appropriate locations.
Okay.
So those types of nuance.
And I read that and okay, so that makes sense. So you just kind of left it vague for that when it comes down to the specifics, we can just do what we need in that moment in that time.
Yeah,
And not be stuck to right today. Okay.
and all of our planning is also subject to our curricular regulations, so that prescribes buffers to rivers, that prescribes certain fish and wildlife habitat corridors.
Yeah.
So that also informs our planning. Like the tenant trick, or not the tenant trick, the riverfront, for example, it's got some wetlands in it, and so there's no proposed improvements within that wetland, where if there are limited trails, they would be subject to our curricular regulations allowances for trails.
Okay.
I really like what you wrote in the parks needs assessment, the yellow, concerning that. I feel like we did a good job and, covering that base either way. And
Yeah, it is good, I believe, to be big. From North Lock. I really liked it. I thought that it was very like well written and very like thoughtfully put together. There wasn't anything that just like stood out at me that I just really didn't like. Yeah, I thought it was really great.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the long list from the Snoqualmie Tribe, you did a great job incorporating everything into their, into the update as much as possible. So really comprehensive and well done.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, what do we mean on for goal 5? Page 21, small page 21,
What's the big page?
big page 61. Oh, yeah, that's a good number.
About the meaningful tribal consultation.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I think that just means more communication overall. So,
Okay.
as we're planning, we meet with the tribe like we did to talk about concerns they have about draft language, about our plans. And then likewise, when it comes to planning more specific projects, like we're doing currently with site workshop or landscape architecture and design firm that we've retained, inviting the tribe to participate in that process as well.
Usually for them, it's meeting them individually, not just as part of the standard public process. Set up a special meeting in the beginning to hear out their concerns and consult with them in the very beginning, especially before we start.
For some reason, when I read that, it feels like an an oversight versus dialogue. And is the intent for them to have some sort of oversight, or is it more collaborative?
It's collaborative.
Just like any other government agency, they're providing feedback. Ultimately, our council is the one that makes a decision on. Good.
I acknowledge, as I said, Sears was in the table, but it's actually in the paragraph right before table 3. And it's just the spelling, so.
The serious?
Yeah, the Sears Sports Facility, it's right before table 3,
Okay.
like super minor table.
Just a general question, when we talk about paving the trail, when we use asphalt, do we have to use asphalt? Is there a reason we use asphalt? I'm just thinking of like dog pod and just how it gets so hot. Is it like
There's
pricey kind
a
of?
number of different trail surfaces that we use, so depending on the circumstance.
So like this one right out here, like we're paving it all the way down, even
Yeah.
past.
Asphalt's just way cheaper.
That isn't a price thing, I assume. Concrete. is
Pricing.
expensive.
Yeah. And just ability to, it's hopefully easier to maintain.
Yeah, it'll be more accessible for people with wheelchairs and such. Cause the sidewalks that Chinook created and the sidewalks that the Riverfront Department created, and then whoever built the sidewalks by, like just around the corner by the new roundabout, like they're beautiful.
Mhm.
They're light in color, they're big, they're concrete, they're not gonna be 115 degrees this summer, so I just didn't know if that was feasible at all.
Feasible, but it's certainly a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Can't change the color of the asphalt easily, I think that would be an expense, right?
Painted.
Yeah.
I know during the heat wave, I was over at Chinook buying things and they said that their asphalt in places was 220 degrees. They
Wow.
measured it with one of those laser thermometers. Yeah. And not that this little trail makes such a, giant difference, but I know that that area of the neighborhood is a lot warmer now just because of that giant parking lot, so. $1 million trail, though, so.
Yeah.
Same situation with field turf. When you have big field turf fields, the temperature gradients in that area on the field are extremely high in the sunshine.
Yeah, in hotter climates, you still have to install irrigation systems in turn because you have to cool it down.
Oh, wow.
So,
So because of the black chip rubber.
no, the plastic that makes the turf is hot. I mean, I have it in my backyard and I have to water it down sometimes in the summer if we want to plant it. And in hotter climates in Arizona and California, in the desert, they put irrigation underneath the pop-up sprinklers so that if you want to use it the next day, or later in the day, they need to spray it down so it's not so hot, so it doesn't burn you when you touch it. So.
And I'm sure it still uses less water.
Well, yeah, you're not watering it to grow,
In Arizona.
yeah, you're only, the expense of putting the irrigation, not the expense of the water, because you're just using it to cool it down, not using it to grow.
Okay, so how do we go about this? Does someone make a motion? Do we need someone from each?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Each one needs a motion, second, and a vote, yeah.
Okay, I'll start. Planning commissioners, would anybody like to make a motion? Recommendation?
Yeah, no, I think, is it page 8, the staff recommendation, a motion? My camera always brings it out. Sorry.
I think it's on page 4.
Yeah, it's 8, right at the top, a motion to recommend city council approval of the proposed updated parks element of the comprehensive plan for adoption with the rest of the 2024 successive plan update, so the very top. Yep.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to recommend, like to make a motion for the city council to recommend the approval of the proposed updated parks element of the comprehensive plan for adoption with the rest of the 2024 comprehensive plan update.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
And we're gonna vote. Planning commissioners?
I
Aye. All right. And any opposed? No, okay, it passes. How about the park?
Okay, would somebody in the Parks Commission like to take a motion?
I motion to recommend city council approve the proposed updated parks element of the comprehensive plan for adoption of the rest of the 2024 comprehensive plan update.
Second. All right. Vote,
Call for the vote.
yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, both pass. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
All right.
Thank you, guys. This is a nice milestone.
There's a lot of work that's put into that. It's,
Time to work.
So
Great
next-
work.
that's it.
We're out for six years.
Yeah, I was gonna do that. At this point, I'd like to close the, both parks and planning commission meetings. We'll adjourn at 7 p.m.
Great. Great, so,
Good job, everybody.
yeah, it was a lot of something there.
We can add to our next agenda Q&A for legislation, if there's time after that,
Okay,
if that works for you.
yeah, I saw your email, I need to dig into it too, and then I saw your email too. So,
we
yeah, I
can-
just,
we can discuss it more individually if you want, but if we wanted to have a Q&A on legislation, we can.
There's a
how
lot
long
of
we have
bills.
those. There's a lot of different bills.
yeah, I was obviously just tricked my thoughts based on, I guess technically the last one wasn't an official meeting, but the conversation. we had.
Yeah, no, I think that bill, we're already meeting all of the requirements, so I wasn't concerned with that bill,
Okay.
it wasn't even on my radar, because everything I read, we already meet.
Okay.
You know, we don't have a design for, we have our design guidelines are already set, they don't go, a lot of those are set to prevent it to go to a board that makes a decision that's not black and white, yes or no. So we don't have
We're
that, so we're
already-
already meeting that,
Yeah, okay.
so.
Okay.
I mean, I think it said like for cities, 700,000, something like that was like one of the conditions.
I mean, and then it also talked about our SEPA guidelines, which we already approved, extended SEPA guidelines at one of our previous meetings. So,
Okay.
in that bill, I
So
think
we're
already
a
meeting
few
all
steps
of it.
ahead anyways on it.
It sounds like there's a lot of bills coming down the pipe though. I mean,
Yeah, 'cause like I said, we can have a Q&A at our
Yeah.
next meeting,
that would be nice to,
the bills.
it's hard to understand. It takes a lot of reading of it.
Send that email to.
You gotta go through it 4 times. I understand this.
It's on email, it's a piece of legislation regarding, design guidelines for, like, ADUs, right, mostly?
Just
It's just for
residential.
everything,
Just
residential.
We have it,
That, it's gone back to my house now.
Well, but there's a different
It's
ADU
Ainsley's desk, but it's-
ordinance that looks like we may have to amend
Design review,
our ADU,
so the housing
on that legislation.
It's
It's signed,
We talked about that. We didn't have a meeting.
No, I'm saying there's a statewide
I just think
new one that.
Council will
is-
probably.
Got signed yesterday.
So
A lot of changes.
it could require us it could require us to allow 2 ADUs per lot. So we'll see how that finishes, so we'll see.
Are you guys getting proposals for any of them?
I mean,
For ADUs,
Yeah,
we get a few every year.
how does it
It's not-
work? Because it's like, you need, I guess you have to have septic capacity, right? Otherwise, it's like, I'm just thinking like sewer and a property that has room for an ADU, is there any, right? Because I don't know, I just think of the new development, they're usually the ones.
Yeah, the newest development doesn't probably have space for
Yeah.
an ADU, although the new law would allow them to carve out an ADU from inside the house possibly. So there's different ways, an attached ADU
Put a side door or something.
Yeah.
Like above a garage.
or above a garage, yeah.
Interesting.
So we're waiting to see again. All the legislation isn't quite final. This week's deadline was having to pass out of the opposite house, but anything that had changes has to go back for concurrence. And again, it still needs to be put on the desk, so we should have it all settled by the next meeting and know exactly where everything sits, so.
Do you think it'll be very popular? 'Cause I know you mentioned before that even.
Well, there's ones that I've been concerned about and we are no longer concerned about them. They have worked out that it doesn't, won't affect our, planning and growth, like we were worried of it. So it's, the big ones that we're concerned about, no longer concerned, but there's still stuff we may have to do, like I said, update our ADU ordinance and things like that aren't a big concern, things that I think we probably needed to clean up anyways, and I've just been waiting for an easy excuse to do it. One of the things we put in there is we technically require a landowner to live on the property where there's an ADU, the new law says we can't do that. So we'll remove that requirement. A lot of cities have removed that requirement over the last 5 years, so. Yeah, so So we can talk more about it, like I said, on the agenda. Okay.
So, all right, sweet.
I'm gonna end the meeting.
You guys want to do it?
Thank you. See you next meeting. Thanks. Great work, Jeff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.